Hey, yo, and here we go. Another episode of, or the first episode, as a matter of fact, of Review It on the Imagine It podcast. Today, my name is Morten. I'm with the ultimate babyface, Joel. We got Bret Hart versus Randy Savage from 1987.
He's got to watch all three of them, and Elizabeth certainly isn't going to be any help. Bret Hart!
This is from Saturday night's main event, Joel. I know you haven't seen this match. In many ways, this was Bret Hart's coming out match as a single star, even though he's part of a tag team with the Hart Foundation, has the belt at the time. This is taking place shortly after Honky Tonk Man has won the belt from Randy Savage's former, let's say, nemesis, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Steamboat has gone away for a while, and Savage is chasing the belt, chasing Honky Tonk Man. And they're having a major feud. So this is a very interesting match because Bret Hart was seen as a tag team guy at the time. And this is really the match where, the first time on a national stage, he has a singles match that really, really makes him.
I feel like I remember reading about this match in Bret's book. Like years and years ago when I read Bret's book, I think I remember him talking about this Savage match and how much it helped get him to that next level. Obviously now if you hear Bret Hart versus Randy Savage, you're like, oh, this is going to be really good. But this is very much a Bret that hasn't won a world title yet, and a Savage that is a proven commodity.
Yeah, this is shortly before Savage would go on to WrestleMania 4, where he's going to face Ted DiBiase in the finals of the tournament that they had and win the world title. At the time, the plan was, I understand, for him to win the belt back from the Honky Tonk Man. Honky Tonk Man didn't want to drop the belt to Savage so shortly after having won it. So he went on to have, of course, a legendary run as the Intercontinental Champion. But yes, Bret Hart talks about this in his book. A lot of the wrestlers already respected Bret a great deal at this point, but the crowd sees him as a tag team guy, so not on the main event level. This establishes him, like I say, on that level. One of the interesting things about this match, and this is in that book, of course, and you say you read it years ago. I just assume you took years to read it, because it is a big book.
It is.
But one of the things about this is that Bret talks about how he had a great match put together with Randy Savage. Randy Savage, of course, very well known for putting together everything up front and really having his matches very, very choreographed. And he and Bret had a great match, and shortly before they go on air, Vince come over and says, work the knee. Work the knee. And Bret's like, but we have a great match set up. And Vince is like, work the knee. So Bret worked the knee. And it's largely put together last minute. And yet, it's a terrific match. It's not a long match, but it's a very intense match and very good. So let's see the openings, and then we'll get your first opinions.
Yeah, let's get into it.
What's he going to do? Oh, he got caught! The Hitman!
So we're a few minutes into the match now. I want to get your opinions on what you've seen so far. The heat of the match is a little bit interesting because these are pre-recorded probably a couple weeks ahead of time, so they have a lot of time to sweeten the sound and such. I'm not sure if they did that here. It sounds a little bit canned to me personally, but it's certainly a hot crowd. But I want to get your opinion on the kind of look of the show and what you've seen psychology-wise so far.
So it like from a psychology standpoint, it's exactly what you expect from Bret and from Savage. Like, you can clearly tell that Bret, this is his starting point, because you still have Jim, you still have Jimmy around him. You have them playing off as the heels in this match, and Bret's doing a great job just being that little sneaky heel and finding that little shortcuts to get around and try to knock Savage down. The one thing that stood out to me about this was I love how it's shot. Like, this is one of my biggest issues with the current WWE product, is it just feels like it's kind of like an over, like you put too much lipstick on the pig, is how I would describe WWE right now. Like, it's over polished. This, I feel like I like it because it feels almost a little gritty, a little grimy, but at the same time it feels larger than life, which is obviously what they were going for in the 80s. Savage feels like this big star. Bret, even though he's smaller, feels like a bigger star. Like, it feels like a guy that's starting to find, like, you know when you see tag teams these days and you see that one guy like Kevin Knight, and you're like, that's the star. That's the star that we should be pushing further. It feels like that with Bret right now. I love watching Jimmy Hart and Jim sit down the side of the ring and are trying to distract Savage, and Savage, being the smart baby face, just knocks their heads together like coconuts. And it's just one of those simple things where it's like, oh, this is like a baby face that's not an idiot. Because it feels like so many baby faces are dumb these days, where they're like, I don't know what to... Don Callis and Okada are on the ring. What do we do? What do we do? It just felt like Savage was like, oh, I know how to deal with both of them.
Yeah.
And he deals with them.
And one of the things that really stands out for me psychology-wise is the psychology of the announcing. Vince McMahon being one of the announcers, he can be, people like him or they don't like him. Some people grew up with him. One of the things about him is he knows the story that he wants told.
Yeah.
So he's able to get the story across in that way. That's where he excelled at. The other thing is Jesse Ventura from the psychology. Like there's a point where Bret Hart is hurt on the outside and where Jim the Anvil Neidhart gets up on the apron along with Jimmy Hart and Vince says, what's he doing there? And he goes, he's buying him time because Bret's hurt.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a little psychology thing that they rarely bring up nowadays.
Yeah.
That's like makes it feel more real, and brings you into the kind of the match as a whole, brings you in and pulls you in as a viewer.
The other thing I quite enjoyed was the Savage was trying to work that top rope spot where he's going to dive onto Bret to inflict more damage because Bret's already hurt. He ate it in the that bike rack. Mm-hmm. Bike rack, like in a classic Bret Hart bump. We've seen him take it thousands of times in the thousands of matches that he's had. And Savage is like, okay, I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him again. And when it looks like he's finally about to get him, Bret gets him with the megaphone. So Bret cheats there. Mm-hmm. So then you're like, okay, now you can feel like the crowd is like when Savage was on that top rope, like that's a picture perfect moment where you see everyone behind him start rising up and start standing up, like getting excited to sit there and see Savage dive out onto the ring. It's something like you see sometimes in wrestling, like if you've got a guy like Will Ospreay going up to the top rope, you could see people kind of start to stand up in some ways and being like, oh, what's going to happen?
Yeah. Let's get back to it and watch a few more minutes and get your thoughts right before the finish or the post-match.
Noah Slam coming up. All
right, so we've seen the entire match as far as the finish goes now. And it took a while before they started working the knee, started working the leg, but it did happen. What did you think of the rest of the match?
So the one thing that stands out, you mentioned, like, because we started talking while we were watching the match, and it was like, okay, when are we getting to this knee and ankle? When did they have to pivot? And then you saw it where Savage took a spill outside and instantly was grabbing the ankle. It's like, it hurts. You have Elizabeth coming over there and helping untie his boot, which is something you don't see rarely ever. Mm-hmm. And you see Savage, he's hobbling on one leg. Like, he's not... Like, it's not like he's doing a move and then selling the leg. He's selling the leg the whole way through. And it's this back and forth battle between these two where everyone's like I wouldn't call it 50, it kind of is 50-50, but it feels like they're climbing over each other. Mm-hmm. They're climbing up a ladder and they're trying to pull each other down, and then one gets ahead and the other one pulls them down, and they get up a little bit more until eventually they get to the finish, which is picture perfect. Like the finish is amazing. It's not what I expected, but it's perfect because Savage can do that pin while still selling the leg.
Yes.
And there was no point in this match until you get to the end where Savage really uses that foot, and that's to push the anvil off and post-match beatdown, which we both love. Post-match beatdown.
Well, it is a WWE staple. Like you say, I mean, nowadays you'll see a guy, he'll sell the move, he'll sell his leg, be like, hey, I'm hurting. Then hit every move that he can hit, and then sell it again like, oh man, that really hurt to do. Savage is not doing all his stuff. He's not doing all his moves because he's hurt his leg. He's actually selling it consistently through the rest of the match. And I'm not saying that today's wrestling isn't as good. In a lot of ways it's better. But the psychology has changed of that. In that I got to get my stuff in is part of the psychology now. Whereas back then it was like, okay, if I hurt a part of my body, it's going to keep me from doing some of the things I normally would do.
And it gets the crowd into it because you're like, oh, I want to see the elbow drop. I want to see a Savage top rope elbow drop. You're not getting it in this one because he can't jump off the top rope.
He can't climb the rope.
So he has to pivot. And he does a beautiful job pivoting. And like, like the New Japan psychology of getting over on a loss. It feels like in this match, like Bret wasn't hurt by this. It doesn't feel like, oh, this is a jabroni tag team guy that shouldn't be in there with Savage. It felt like Bret should have been in there with Savage. And the only reason Savage won was he was just a little bit quicker than Bret.
So there's a little bit here in the post-match I want to watch, and then we'll get final thoughts.
Yeah.
With the megaphone!
So everything is finished now. It's wrapped up. You've seen it all now. I can see by the smile on your face you had a good time with it. What did you think about the post-match angle?
It was great. And again, Savage sold the leg. It wasn't like he suddenly hulked up and was invincible and healed up everything. Because we'll see that where a guy will have an arm or a leg work, and then they'll go to do a post-match beatdown, and then suddenly the guy's perfectly fine and can do all the moves and everything and hit everything and send all the heels running. Savage had to be smarter than Bret and Jim and Jimmy Hart. There's a lot of Jims and Jimmies there.
Yeah.
But it was really well. It was a great match. It was a fantastic. I would say if I had to give it a star rating, it'd probably be like a nice solid 4.
Yeah,
3.75 to a 4 range.
I would say it's a 4-star match, and considering it's only about 13 minutes long, including the post-match stuff, and the opening. I mean, it's a short enough match. It's hard to give it more, but it's hard to give it less too because it's almost a perfect time capsule of what it was that worked in that era. Yeah. It's not necessarily what would work today, but in that era, this is what worked storytelling wise.
And you saw the crowd. You saw that crowd, and you saw the crowd pop twice. Saw it when Savage got that pin, and then when Savage ducked for the megaphone, and then had the megaphone in his hand, and he's selling, and he's hopping, and he dives to hit Jimmy, I think, with the megaphone, and he throws his whole body into it.
Yeah, and then he gets out of the ring, and as he starts to walk to the back, he collapses again because his knee's just screwed, and it's just fantastic. They never stop selling it. It's just great stuff.
And like the big thing was like this was more at the bottom of your card. Like this was kind of like maybe a little bit higher up, but it's not your main event program going.
No, what you would have is you would have Hulk Hogan, and he would do one tour, and he would draw. That's the tour everybody wanted to be on because it's Hulk Hogan, so he's drawing the most money, so you're getting the biggest paychecks. But the other tour they would have simultaneously running would have the tag team titles and the intercontinental titles being defended. So you'd have one, you'd get the world title, one you'd get 2 titles. And those were also drawing well because they had Savage versus Honky Tonk, and it was really good stuff.
Macho Man Randy Savage is like, he could work in any time period.
Yeah.
Like if we're talking about imagine it, you could imagine Savage working in any time period, and you could imagine Bret working in any time period. Absolutely. If you plunked either of them in 2026, both guys would be just fine. And you can see, like, Savage was so smart as a wrestler. Mm-hmm. And you saw what he did in the ring, and we both know how smart Bret was. Like, both guys could work any era of professional wrestling, and they'd be just fine. And I think, like, you look at it where it's just like, this is a perfect little time capsule of that period of wrestling and how good Bret was going to be and how good Savage was. Because this was, I would argue, this is probably Savage getting close to his peak. The pinnacle.
Yeah, it's pretty close. It's pretty close. So that is the first Review It on the Imagine It Wrestling Podcast. Please hit review, send a review, send your opinions, send what we should do, like, subscribe, share, thumbs up, thumbs down. I don't really care. Something. Anything, please.